Derfydd air a derfydd arian, derfydd melfed, derfydd sidan, derfydd pob dilledyn helaeth, eto hyn, ni derfydd hiraeth.
20 years of hiding, of running, and it had come to this. Tom pulled her along behind him, willing her to keep up, but she staggered again. She'd run too far for too long, and Molly knew she would die tonight. They called these ancient woods by their first name, Blaine, their Welsh name. Molly had brought Tom here this morning to celebrate Beltane, and to consecrate their love, but she should have been more careful. Never the same place twice was the rule, but she'd broken it. It was too late now, and Molly could hear the men gaining on them, crashing through the undergrowth in the wet dawn. Tom could feel her waning and slowed to a jog. "We'll make us stand here. After all, there's only 5 left now." He reached for a smile, but the expression on his wife's face extinguished the attempt. "Where's Brendan?" It was almost a curse beneath his breath. Tom scanned the blanket of moist green, short sword in hand. They were back to back when the first Irishman broke cover. "Not bad for a couple of oldies," the youngster taunted, trying to control his breathing. "He told us you might be a handful." The tone changed as he gazed at Molly. "He wants you to pay for your mistake." Molly gagged at a memory, and Tom tightened his body around her as 2 more men entered the clearing. This Irishman was very young, not much more than a teenager, and his strong Wicklow accent jolted Tom back 25 years. "Nothing you can do now." The lad grinned, holding a blackened blade. "The swords are tainted. It'll only take a nick." Tom threw his own sword in a vicious, deadly arc, the momentum of the steel sending the boy flying backwards and clutching at his ruined throat. "Now there's only 4. Do you want to talk?" He spoke evenly to one of the stunned accomplices. "You fucking Welsh bastard!" the other lad screeched, the youngest, and Tom felt the malice again. "There's nothing to talk about. You'll die, and he'll have her at last." Molly passed Tom her sword, eased a knife from her belt, and threw it into the nearest man's thigh. She knew it would have bounced from the combat leather on his chest. The boy swore in pain as he dug the dagger out, then advanced on her, tainted blade in hand, all piggy pink eyes and ginger hair. Tom pushed Molly behind him, then regained his combat stance. The younger man wasn't well trained, but he didn't need to be with that blade. He wielded it like a taunt, slashing up and down flashily, but leaving his kidneys exposed. Tom feinted to one side, leaving his opponent overextended and off balance. A brutal kick to the ribs knocked the runt flat. Too late. Tom whirled to Molly, held in the arms of the third man, and all the air emptied from his lungs. "No! Molly!" But the cut had been made, a large black swathe against her neck. The Irish pig laughed and pushed her forward into Tom's arms. He knew Ginger was limping towards him from behind with his black blade, but that didn't matter now. Her eyes were flat with pain, but there was life and love there too. And when he felt the blade in his back, it wasn't too deep or painful. "You live to watch her die!" The runt spat. There was a commotion behind him, and Tom knew that Brendan had arrived. He heard Irish bodies fall thick and fast. The grunting and squealing of a combat was played out beyond his vision, but Tom had the satisfaction of knowing that none of the enemy would survive an encounter with Brendan, no matter how many black blades they owned. Every kick and punch meted out by his brother-in-law delivered pain and death to the enemy. Still half registering Brendan's victory, Tom turned his attention to Molly. Her breath was slowing. Blood loss and poison made it a struggle to speak. "Mona, Edwal, they must live. Cocooning her in his arms, Tom lay them both against the sodden ground, already feeling the heaviness of the poison in his lungs and heart. They will live. He kissed her mouth for as long as it would stay warm, and when he pulled away, Molly was wearing the smallest of smiles on her beloved face. All of our future lives, Tom. Wait for me. He sobbed into her strawberry hair, but she had gone. Tom was taking too long to die, and his vision was still clear enough to focus on Brendan when he staggered over, breathing heavily and decorated with blood that was not his own. He fell to his knees at the sight of his sister. "Molly!" he uttered as he swallowed back the grief. "She's gone, Bren. They took her from me." Brendan's heart clenched in grief as he watched the big man smooth back his sister's golden red hair. "I couldn't get past them in time. There's too many at the southern gate. I failed her." A seizure took Tom, but he smiled sadly, shaking his head. "It was always going to end like this, Bren. We've lasted so much longer than we thought possible." Brendan lowered his head and nodded. He knew Tom spoke the truth. "Look after them. You mustn't have them. Not Mona. Not Edwal. Please." The words were a struggle for Tom now, and Brendan gripped his friend's shoulder. "Until we meet again, Tom." Tom's last words were a whisper in the rain. "Burn us, Brendan. Ease our passing." The rain pattered through the trees as Brendan stared down at his dead sister and her love. He wasn't alarmed by the voice of the dying Irishman. Brendan had nicked the boy with the dirty blade. "I did her a favour. Better to die here than to face what he had planned for her," the young man croaked. Brendan was too numb to feel anger. His loss was beyond grief. "Why did they have to die? There are so few of us left," Brendan choked out. "Seamus wanted her back. But why, after all these years? The marc. It was the marc. Always the marc. I don't understand. What is this marc? Why does he need it? Druids will return to their former power under it. It's the only way left now." Brendan was well aware of the catechism, the mindless obsession with inherited magic, but he didn't understand the new fixation with this marc. The psychosis in Seamus must have hollowed him out over the years. Brendan needed one more answer before the man died. "How did you find us?" "Cameras. Surveillance." He winced as the poison began to overwhelm him. "The New World Order is technology, old man. He's been hunting you down with it for years."
Dervid aira, dervid arian, dervid melved, dervid sitan.